Howard Rheingold. I've written probably more than a dozen books about social media. It's what they call it now. I coined the term virtual community in 1987. I've taught as a lecturer at Stanford University and at the University of California at Berkeley. I've taught courses on social media issues and social media literacies. 20, 30 years from now, will people look back and say that the advent of digital media and networks were a tremendous elevation of humankind and human civilization and human thought? Or will they look back at it as a terribly degrading influence on the way people communicate and think and deploy their attention? This is a question I've been faced with for quite a while, ever since I started writing books about computers and networks in 1985. The question, are these things any good for us, has arisen. Well, in 1985, these things were personal computers. Then it was the idea of using networks to communicate with socially. And then it was the advent of what's now called the smartphone. And after asking this question of myself for a number of years, my conclusion was it depends on what people know, that there's an issue of literacy. The gap between those who can afford to have devices and those who can't afford to have devices has narrowed so much that there are billions of people who have access to digital media and networks. But I'm concerned about the know-how gap between those who know how to use social media effectively for themselves and to contribute positively to the commons, and those who don't, who waste their time and their brains, and who degrade and pollute the intellectual commons. So I wrote a book called Net Smart in 2012, How to Thrive Online, about 5 essential literacies: attention, crap detection, participation, collaboration, and network know-how. So just very, very briefly, I don't have to convince anyone that there's an attention and distraction issue. 1 in 6 Americans have admitted to the Pew Internet and American Life survey that they have bumped into someone or something while walking down the street, texting, looking at their phones. You can see it every day, frighteningly on the freeways, but also walking down the street. My study has convinced me that this is not inherent in the technology, although the technology and those who design the applications really want to attract our attention. We just simply have not learned how to control our own attention. The literature on what's called metacognition, being aware of where you're deploying your attention, is pretty clear. Any attention that you pay to how you are paying attention is going to increase your ability to control it. Any attempt at all to ask yourself, should I be looking at my screen right now, or should I be talking to my child, will increase your ability to control your attention. Crap detection has to do with the fact that we now live in this miraculous era where you can ask any question at any time, anywhere, and get sometimes millions of answers. But unlike the era where you got books out of the library that were written by authors who were vetted by editors and publishers and librarians, it's now up to you, the consumer of information, to determine whether the information you get when you make a query to a search engine is good information or bad information or misinformation or disinformation. Again, this is not difficult. It's not rocket science, as they say. But it does require questioning authority and thinking critically. And those are things that many schools and many parents are reluctant to teach. what parent wants their kids questioning their authority all the time? And how difficult is it for teachers to teach their students to question the veracity of what they say? So there's an issue there, but there are plenty of resources available for teaching people how to find their way through the information that's available online. Participation, we wouldn't be talking about the web today if it wasn't for the fact that millions of people made it. The web was not created by a government or a corporation. In fact, people laughed at you if you said you were going to make money on the web until about 1995. The web was created by millions of people putting up websites. It's about many-to-many communication. Until now, we've had one-to-one communication. You could pick up the phone and call someone. You couldn't pick up the phone and say, I want to talk to people who are knowledgeable about raising teenagers. Online, however, you don't have to be a television broadcaster or a newspaper publisher in order to reach the world. And we've seen many examples where individuals have broadcast video or they have published text that have had significant impact on the world. There's so many ways to participate. You can blog, you can participate in Wikipedia, you could upload something to YouTube. There's hundreds of millions of hours of video created by individuals uploaded to YouTube every year. Collaboration, I think, is probably the most powerful capability that the web has brought to people. If you think about virtual communities and smart mobs, two phenomena that I wrote books about social production, the way the web itself was created, the way open source software or Wikipedia are created, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding. You can go to GoFundMe or Kickstarter and fund things that before you had to go to a venture capitalist or a banker to get money to do. We've got new ways of collaborating and working together with people you may not have known before, but who share an interest. Every day, there's a new way to do that. And finally, I talk about network know-how. There's a lot of knowledge about how networks influence individuals and societies. It's not that difficult, but it's in a lot of different disciplines. In sociology, they talk about social networks. You know, before Facebook, humans had social networks going back to the beginning. And what you know about social networks can influence how you can operate in the world. The structure of networks, the small world network, for example, influences what can be done within those networks. Understanding these little pieces of knowledge from different disciplines will enable you as an individual to be more effective, but it will also enable you and others to contribute to an educational enterprise, a way for people to help other people, perhaps even strengthening the idea that people in democracies don't just elect their leaders, they have relatively intelligent, relatively free discussions about the issues that concern them. So will we look back on today as the beginning of a golden age, or the beginning of the corruption of human civilization? I guess I'm hopeful that if more people know how to use the media that are available to them, that we will create something, just as we did with the printing press, as we did with writing, that will benefit many.